In his final days, rock legend Ozzy Osbourne lived in a way no one could have predicted. After cheating death time and again, the Prince of Darkness's last chapter turned out to be both heartbreaking and deeply human, full of love, struggle, and one last salute to his fans. The final chapter of a rock legend. Ozzy Osbourne spent decades earning his reputation as the wild Prince of Darkness. On stage, he was larger than life, biting the head off a bat, bellowing heavy metal anthems, and somehow surviving every excess imaginable. But as Ozzy reached his mid-70s, life slowed down dramatically. The invincible frontman who once seemed to have 9 lives began facing challenges even he couldn't outrun. Serious injuries, a battle with Parkinson's disease, and the gradual decline of a body worn down by years of hard living. By 2018, Ozzy had announced a global farewell tour, cheekily named No More Tours 2, scheduled to run through 2020. Fans knew him as a survivor, so most expected he'd bow out on his own terms. But fate had other plans. A string of health crises struck Ozzy one after another, forcing the metal icon to press pause on performing. As he later admitted, things started going wrong and not working anymore as he got older. A humbling reality for a man who once felt indestructible. October 2018. Ozzy undergoes emergency hand surgery after a serious staph infection in his thumb, derailing tour plans. He jokes grimly that, since October, everything I touch has turned to S, frustrated by the constant setbacks. Early 2019, he's diagnosed with a severe upper respiratory infection that turns into pneumonia, forcing him to postpone the UK and European tour legs. Ozzy apologizes to fans, heartbroken to disappoint them. April 2019. While recuperating at home in Los Angeles, Ozzy suffers a devastating fall. He falls flat on his face one night and aggravates an old neck and back injury from a 2003 ATV accident. This injury is serious. It dislodges metal rods in his body and requires neck surgery. Ozzy cancels all remaining 2019 performances and spends months recovering. Multiple surgeries. The fallout from the fall continues for years. Ozzy endures 3 more spinal surgeries, with the final one as late as September 2023. Each operation is an arduous attempt to restore his mobility and relieve pain. These health scares took a heavy toll. In January 2020, Ozzy decided it was time to come clean about another battle he could no longer hide. He revealed to the world that he'd been living with Parkinson's disease since 2003. Parkinson's is a progressive nervous system disorder, and Ozzy's diagnosis explains some of the tremors and difficulty walking that fans had started to notice. Ever defiant, Ozzy told fans, "It's not a death sentence." His wife and lifelong partner, Sharon Osbourne, echoed that optimism, insisting the condition was not a death sentence by any stretch, and that Ozzy would have good days and bad days. Still, the reality was stark. Parkinson's disease gradually robbed Ozzy of his mobility, making it hard for him to stand or walk without assistance. By early 2025, the rocker candidly admitted on his radio show, "I can't walk, but for all my complaining, I'm still alive." A bittersweet acknowledgement that even if he was wheelchair-bound, he felt fortunate compared to others who didn't make it as far as he had. Through all of this, Ozzy's family became his anchor. Sharon stood by him, not just as a wife, but as his manager and fiercest protector, coordinating his care and reshaping their lives around his health needs. His children rallied around too. Kelly Osbourne, Ozzy's daughter, said watching her dad's health decline was heartbreaking. "My dad is not the way he used to be since the Parkinson's and surgeries and everything that happened," she explained. "So I dedicate my life to spending as much time with him as I possibly can. He's also, like, my best friend." That devotion shows just how close-knit the Osbourne family remained. Even as Ozzy's body grew frail, he was surrounded by love, a wild rock star on stage, but dad and grandpa at home, cherished by his kids and grandkids. When the music stopped, for a performer who lived to be on stage, perhaps the hardest blow was accepting that he could no longer tour. In early 2023, after years of trying to power through his health issues, Ozzy made a heartbreaking announcement. He was officially retiring from touring. On social media, he explained that while his singing voice was fine, his body was still physically weak despite 3 operations, stem cell treatments, endless physical therapy sessions, and groundbreaking cybernetics (HAL) treatment. He simply could not cope with the travel and physical demands of a full tour anymore. The man who once leapt and stomped across stages for hours now struggled just to stand unassisted, a cruel reality that left him not physically capable of the touring life. This was an emotional moment for Ozzy. Touring had been his life for over 50 years. Admitting it was over brought him to tears. He felt he was letting his fans down, but he also knew it was the only choice if he wanted to stay alive and have any quality of life. His doctors urged him to take it easy, and his family, Sharon especially, wanted him to prioritize his health. Sharon started planning a major life change, moving back home to England. The Osbournes had lived in Los Angeles for decades, but now they decided to return to their rural estate in Buckinghamshire, England, to live out Ozzy's twilight years in peace. They even renovated the old country house to better accommodate Ozzy's needs, adding an on-site nurse's apartment and a physical rehab wing. It was a huge adjustment, but an important one. According to a family friend, Sharon saw this move as creating the best life possible for their final chapter together. In 2023, they finally made the leap across the pond. Ozzy was initially unsure about leaving California, but he grew to appreciate the tranquility of the English countryside, and importantly, the privacy it offered. A source close to the family said it was a gift because they got a year and a half together at home in England. After decades in the spotlight, Ozzy spent his last year tucked away in the place he always considered home, listening to music, sitting in his garden, and soaking in precious time with the family. Ozzy's final days were spent in England, surrounded by family, music, and in the place he called home. He was at peace, the family friend shared. This peaceful domestic life was a far cry from the chaos of his younger years, and exactly what he needed. Still, one thing burned in Ozzy's heart. He wanted to take the stage one last time. He had stopped touring, yes, but he hadn't said goodbye to performing altogether. As he put it, "I am determined to get back on stage even if I have to be nailed to a board and wheeled on. Survival is my legacy." That unbreakable spirit led to an idea that would give Ozzy and his fans a final moment of glory. Moem The Road to One Last Show. By mid-2025, Ozzy's health was fragile, but his passion for music was as strong as ever. Seeing her husband growing restless in retirement, Sharon Osbourne came up with a bold plan. She helped organize an extraordinary one-night-only event called Back to the Beginning, a tribute concert in their hometown of Birmingham, England, bringing together the biggest names in rock to honor Black Sabbath's legacy. This would be Ozzy Osbourne's final concert, and the first time in 20 years he would reunite on stage with all the original members of Black Sabbath. For Ozzy, it was a dream come true. "He's so excited about this," Sharon said in early 2025, noting how much it meant for him to be with the guys. His old bandmates Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and drummer Bill Ward, one more time. This reunion was not just for the fans, it was deeply personal for Ozzy, bringing his career full circle back to where it all began. Preparations were intense. Ozzy hadn't done a proper live show in several years, so he worked with a trainer to build his strength. Ever faithful, he said, "By hook or by crook, I'm gonna make it there. I'm giving it everything I've got." And he meant it. Despite being unable to walk due to Parkinson's by this point, Ozzy was determined to rock that stage. The solution? A custom-designed, bat-winged black throne, a fittingly gothic seat from which Ozzy could sing without having to stand. It was actually Sharon's idea. She knew performing again would give him a reason to get up in the morning and push through the pain. With that throne on stage, nothing would stop him from delivering the show of a lifetime. On July 5th, 2025, Ozzy Osbourne gave his final performance. The atmosphere at Villa Park Stadium in Birmingham was electric. Over 40,000 fans, including fellow rock stars like Metallica's James Hetfield, Guns N' Roses members, and even actor Jason Momoa, gathered to witness the Prince of Darkness rock out one last time. It was a day-long heavy metal celebration. More than a dozen famous bands played tribute sets under the summer sun, warming up the crowd for the main event. Metallica's Hetfield told the audience, "Without Sabbath, there would be no Metallica," thanking Ozzy and his bandmates for giving them a purpose. The concert united Black Sabbath's original lineup, Ozzy, Tony, Geezer, and a shirtless Bill Ward on drums, something fans never thought they'd see again. When Ozzy finally rolled on stage seated on his black throne, the stadium erupted. There he was, frail, yes, and visibly trembling at times, but with that same mischievous grin and a sparkle in his eye. Dressed in his trademark black, Ozzy looked out at the sea of devoted fans, some of whom were openly weeping at the sight of their hero taking the mic one more time. Ozzy launched into classics like Crazy Train, War Pigs, Iron Man, and Paranoid, his voice resonant and soulful. He couldn't pace the stage or jump around. Instead, he headbanged from his throne and raised his arms, leading the crowd in sing-alongs. At moments, the emotion caught up with him. Observers saw Ozzy wipe away tears as tens of thousands of fans sang back to him. After nearly 6 decades of thrilling and shocking audiences, this was a truly heartfelt goodbye. "You've got no idea how I feel. Thank you from the bottom of my heart," Ozzy told the roaring crowd, his voice cracking with gratitude. Those words rang through the stadium and through the hearts of everyone watching, even the other rock legends on the sidelines, from Steven Tyler of Aerosmith to Tom Morello of Rage Against the Machine, looked on with awe and respect. For them, and for all of us, it was a historic moment, the end of an era. As Black Sabbath played their final notes together, fireworks lit up the Birmingham sky. Ozzy's family was there too, Sharon watching proudly from the wings, and his children in tears of pride and sadness. For one final bow, crew members helped Ozzy stand from his throne, and with Tony Iommi steadying him on one side and Sharon on the other, he waved to the audience. It was done. Ozzy Osbourne had given us one last show, against all odds. That show meant everything, a close friend said later. It brought his career full circle. The last goodbye. Just over 2 weeks later, the world lost Ozzy Osbourne. On the morning of July 22, 2025, Ozzy was resting at his family home in Buckinghamshire when he suffered a sudden medical crisis. A Thames Valley Air Ambulance helicopter rushed to the scene to provide advanced critical care at the Osbourne estate. Paramedics fought to save him for 2 hours, but the legendary rocker's big heart had finally given out. Ozzy Osbourne died of an out-of-hospital cardiac arrest caused by a massive heart attack, acute myocardial infarction, with years of coronary artery disease and complications from Parkinson's disease contributing to his passing. He was 76 years old. Ozzy's family announced his death publicly that same day. It is with more sadness than mere words can convey that we have to report that our beloved Ozzy Osbourne has passed away this morning, the Osbourne family statement read. They added that he was with his family and surrounded by love as he slipped away. After all the outrageous tours, TV shows, and headlines, Ozzy left this world quietly at home, holding the hands of those dearest to him. Sharon, his wife of over 40 years, was by his side until the very end, as were his children, Jack, Kelly, Amy, and Louie. In that private moment, he was not the larger-than-life metal god, but a husband and father taking his final rest. News of Ozzy's passing sent shockwaves through the music world. Tributes poured in from fans and fellow musicians across the globe. Elton John mourned his dear friend, calling Ozzy a huge trailblazer who secured his place in the pantheon of rock gods. Bret Michaels of Poison thanked Ozzy for rocking our world and said there will never be another like him. Even Metallica simply posted a broken heart emoji with a photo of Ozzy, a silent salute to the band's heavy metal forefather. The outpouring of love was a testament to Ozzy's profound impact over generations of artists and fans. He wasn't just a wild performer, he was an inspiration, a survivor, and, as so many noted, surprisingly kind and funny behind the scenes. On July 30th, 2025, Ozzy's family held an emotional funeral procession in his hometown of Birmingham. Thousands of fans lined the streets as black limousines passed and Black Sabbath's music played softly in tribute. Sharon walked behind the hearse, at one point clutching one of Ozzy's famous round sunglasses and one of his hats, small tokens of the larger-than-life man she loved. It was a celebration of Ozzy's life as much as it was a funeral. His family kept it personal and small, as Ozzy would have wanted, avoiding any overblown spectacle. After all, despite his onstage persona, those close to him knew Ozzy as a humble, funny, and loving soul who never forgot where he came from.